their roles, and they drafted a double support Vala composition. And once they headed into the game, I had a quick exchange with Mene where I said, like, well, boys, you basically just got a free win here. And it's like, well, you think they're gonna leave SC on the support again? And I'm like, well, double support, probably, right? And then the game started, and we saw SC on Vala, and everyone was like, whew, okay, this is gonna be a little bit rougher than expected. Ballistics has finally figured it out, and Fnatic lost that scrim then, and it just showed how strong a double support with SC on Vala can be. And I mean, that was on a different level what we just saw, but still, it's insane.
Even, I remember last BlizzCon 2016, everyone was like, yo, SC's Vala, a problem. It's a problem. He has been one of the best, if not the best ranged assassin in the world for so long. Tops the average hero kills per game easily throughout the entire year. He is a beast, and he plays safely, as we saw in the last game too. We're heading into Game 2, Battlefield of Eternity, chosen by Ballistics against KSV. Another call-out. I love it.
Yeah, it was pretty much what KSV was running for the longest time, not only this year, but also last year, of course, where they set several records. That Nazeebo hover is an interesting one. I can only imagine that's a troll. I've watched countless scrims from both teams, and that is not something that would immediately jump to my mind if they're on Battlefield of Eternity. So yeah, they're switching over to a potential ban on Arthas, which already make a little bit more sense.
Very interesting.
Could have gone for the crazy if they would have known that. Like, if they ban out Nazeebo here, I'm like, okay, apparently KSV has a strategy that no one of us has seen yet, like a super hidden pocket strat that we can maybe look forward to in the long run. But yeah, troll hover.
Or it's just a mega call out, right? We can deal with anything you throw at us, KSV, so bring your worst.
I mean, there were actually times in the meta where you could, on the second ban, go for a bullshit ban because you just simply wanted to waste the ban because there were two heroes that were so high in priority that you don't want to ban one out and give the other one over to your opponent. You wanted to make sure that both are open. But that was, I think, early 215.
Right.
So yeah, long time ago.
What this does do, though, is leaves up a lot of options that traditionally get banned out here. And the one I'm immediately thinking of is Task Tracer. And it also leaves up Genji and takes out 2 warriors, maybe scaring KSV into trying to get a first pick warrior because 2 have already been banned. But KSV don't go for that. They'll get their Genji. Let's see what Ballistics gets.
I think KSV has done incredibly well with Genji so far. They are insanely powerful with the hero, and especially Reset has just destroyed Nurse throughout the tournament. We have, again, though, Abathur. And Abathur is a hero that I think from this point out we're going to see a lot more. We saw a couple of Abathur games already, and we've seen in the European scene, in particular in HGC throughout the entire year, a lot of bans on Abathur since he can be a massive, massive game changer. And both the Korean teams absolutely adopt this. We could see the strength in the last game, even though KSV didn't win. Ballistics with also, again, Tyrael here. Hooligan on... The one hero that always comes to my mind when I think about Hooligan is Muradin. But Muradin has fallen a little bit in the tournament here. We've seen a huge priority on other frontliners. Arthas has risen thanks to Greymane playing such a huge role lately, and also Karazim coming back. But Tyrael is definitely a hero where Hooligan impresses me more and more whenever I see him. It was always a hero where I say, like, okay, the kid's obviously good on him, but it was always the Muradin where he just showed no fear, jumped into any fight and got like storm walls off, and it was crazy. But his Tyrael is getting even better than his Muradin ever was, I feel.
Yeah, I feel like when he started in the second part of Phase 2 after the Eastern Clash, there were some struggles with things like Holy Ground, and Ballistics in having this amazing player, Tyrael player in Jungha, it seemed more favored to have Tyrael there, but I totally agree with you. He has improved so much in Tyrael, and now a major threat to KSV. And hopefully the Sanctifications for them able to get through what's pretty scary that KSV has, a double reset comp.
What he says is also a really good point. I would expect him, with Abathur now in the setup, I would expect this to be a setup where Hooligan finds himself on Tyrael, but they don't have to put him there. They have alternatives. They can always draft another frontliner, and so that makes him really flexible in the drafting. That always helps. But of course, draft continues here a bit. We have KSV with something they have run several times. They're super happy with the double resets. Having, first of all, Genji and then Li Ming is something where you want to commit to early kills. You want to really make sure that you are getting that drive and that momentum within the team fight. The Haka already used, can threat Abathur a little bit. It's also, of course, that big tool that you can utilize to have macro game and the global. And we have at this point to once again also respect Noblesse as the mastermind of KSV. It's one of the few teams that has an actual coach, and I really can't stress enough how much Noblesse is respected not only by the members of KSV, but by every other team here that is attending the tournament. Every team has said if KSV plays with Noblesse drafting, they are at a completely different level. They turn absolutely Super Saiyan in that moment.
And as a previous member of Ballistics, I imagine that this is a bit of a heartbreaker for him to try to coach through. But he talked about how he would be able to do that just fine, and he feels like SCSC has already adapted a lot of the drafting expertise that Noblesse had during their time together. But Ballistics is going for the same warrior choke, or very similar, that we saw SPT employ versus Fnatic, making me think that maybe that will just be the solo frontliner, solo full warrior of Tyrael, but they're going to get SC's Valla back and get Lucio.
At this point, I think if you are going to the setup that Ballistics has, the one thing that you're really afraid of is that you have the opponent dive really deep into your backline and just cocoon either Lucio or Tyrael at the front. Once that happens, you are more or less doomed. Because the moment Valla dies, if you are trying to play this composition, your fight is probably lost. You have to do some major damage before Valla goes down in order to turn it if she's not in the team fight anymore. So banning out Nuburak is absolutely perfect for them. They just look at the side of KSV and they see Genji, they see Li Ming, they know that they need to go for a blow-up, and they say, okay boys, what's really the one hero that can allow them to get that snowball going? And they ban out Nuburak since he is such a massive threat that he can also, of course, interrupt any kind of safety tool that you have to keep Valla alive. KSV now rounding that draft out with Muradin and Rhaegar. So we're having them with a fair amount of wave clear on the map, nice panic buttons as well. Since we still have Lightning Bond, you have the pressure against the Immortal too. So a very solid draft on the side of KSV.
Yeah, they have only played one other game, single support, so this is an adjustment for them. But in this instance, being able to have that double reset, that is where they would traditionally go, especially here on Battlefield of Eternity, but traditionally if they're not going to run the secondary support. And the last game was also solo support, so they're making some adjustments there.
Yeah, a lot of the teams... the practice area, by the way, is currently running the new patch already, so the live patch. This is probably also important to note for all the viewers out there. The teams, of course, make the adjustments to the tournament patch that we are still running here, and that is especially transparent when you see Rhaegar and the lack of wave clear that he has in the live patch. But overall, it's still fairly similar, and Ballistics heading into Varian here on their last pick, and starting to really threaten Genji and, of course, also Li Ming. Especially Genji, if he goes in deep. Like, at this point, if you have a Varian against you, all of a sudden, you need to be so much more careful of how you position yourself and when you engage in the fight, especially after level 10. We don't see as much Varian as we used to, simply because most of the time you're worried about his lack of wave clear in comparison to other frontliners. But if you're playing on Battlefield of Eternity, that is not as much of a problem as on 3-lane maps and bigger maps, and I love it against this setup here in particular.
Kaldor, I feel like I have to do my due diligence because Dreadnought's not at this desk. Is there any world?
No. No.
Is there any world?
No. Don't even say it.
Where this Varian is not going taunt?
Okay, so for one reason, it's not going to happen. If it ever happens, it will be when Dread casts.
It has to be, right?
Exactly. At this point, the stars will align themselves so that he can go on a 5-minute rant about why this is the perfect choice of what one. I feel I couldn't do it justice if it happened, so I'm just saying...
Oh, I will do it justice. I will be very hyped.
So by now you know the speech by heart?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, don't you worry, we've got it. I feel like we're going to have a very quick idea of what heroic ability we'll see just as soon as we know who's playing it. It is Jungha. Jungha is playing Varian. I just want to throw it out there. Jungha on the Varian. The rest of the team also here. Magi playing Lucio. Hooligan playing Tyrael. SDE on Abathur. Jungha playing Varian. And SC playing Valla.
Yeah, double Lucy here in the lineup apparently, so they're breaking the rules
meta.
already. Yeah, new meta for sure. To the right side of the map, KSV with Tist on Muradin, Reset, of course, on Genji, Rich this time on Dehaka. We have Kyoja on Rhaegar and Sake on Li Ming.
And before you get sad that Reset's not playing Li Ming,
yeah,
trust me, Sake gets resets too.
Yeah, I am loving that we have Saka and Liming here. The cool thing is that Saka is always talking how he really wants to, like, he enjoys the support role, but at the same time he misses the times when he was zipping around on Tracer, and he said they're always joking around a bit where he goes over to Reset and just tells him, okay, how about today you support me for a change, and Reset always says from the get-go, yeah, and that's not going to happen, no, you're doing way too much of a good job, and I'm having too much fun on my damage dealers. The one thing that I want to quickly point out is one of the reasons why I also don't think that there's any chance we don't see Taunt. Basically, Zhongha last game was on Illidan duty, and it was basically, you control the damage dealers that dive us. Now Dehaka's taken away from him, and he's like, huh, who can do that job too? So I think he's just going to play the exact same role and has the exact same job that he had in the last game. Just this time he's going to be a little bit more focused on particularly Genji, but also if he gets close enough, Liming.
Yeah, it's not super fun to be the solo laner as Varian. As you can see, his wave clear is not the most fun, but he has help with the Abathur hat, right? The symbiote can help with that, with the damage there. Even puts a lot of pressure on Rich's Dehaka in the top lane, and he has some help with this rotating Hooligan who's going back and forth, just giving a shield, maybe helping out with some damage on the wave, posturing up, whatever is needed from him.
They are suffering at the bot lane though, and the poke that we have from KSV has already cost them one tower, and the second one is down to half health. So that is definitely going to become a bit of an issue. The Immortal fights are going to be super important. Once they reach 10, things are going to be a little bit easier for them. It's also noteworthy to see that we have an adjustment in the builds on Abathur, which makes perfect sense for the map here as well. Going more into the Toxic Nest build, which is going to allow them to set up traps, to also see rotations coming and control the movement of KSV Black a little bit. But the fight is starting up, and we have an immediate focus target. Zhongha is already in a bit of trouble. They're trying to go for Rich, but it is Varian who dies first. That's one of the big problems that you have with Varian. Before you hit level 4, you are still mortal.
Exactly. Shield wall will change a lot of things like that. Oh, SC is not getting out of here, I don't think. Perfectly done. Expertly taken out with Sake throwing the abilities over the wall. The chase continues for KSV, now setting their sights on Hooligan. But with the symbioting and the supporting of Magi, he makes it out just fine. This whole time, Rhaegar, even without Lightning Bond, has been working on bringing down the Immortal of Ballistics. Went for Wolf Run, which we do see a fair amount on this battleground, so that he can rotate quickly back and forth between lanes. This gives KSV a good laning setup between Dehaka and that Wolf Run Rhaegar.
Now this is the one thing that's scary for Ballistics. I feel if they manage to, with the coordination that we have seen on the first map, if they manage to get into the mid and late game, then they have, in my opinion, the tools they need to really put the pressure onto KSV. And KSV understands that very well and utilizes the weaknesses in the early game to give themselves an early Immortal. First of all, you exploit that Varian didn't have his level 4 yet, then you're trying to exploit Abathur on the other side. So they're doing really well here, are already a level ahead before the Immortal is going to get value. And the snowball, that's really what I would be afraid of if I'm Ballistics. And KSV is, of course, aiming for exactly that. Try and snowball it early and make sure that Ballistics' composition never unfolds their true potential.
One thing that'll stop that is that a lot of damage was still put onto KSV's Immortal during the phase, so the shielding was not very much. It's already being brought down from Ballistics, especially with the Monster Hunter. Extra damage for Hungering Arrow on this Immortal from SCSC, and playing safely with the zoning of the Double Warrior of Ballistics. They will take care of the Immortal with losing basically nothing on the fort.
Yeah, they put on a really nice defense here up at the top. Didn't lose too much at the bot lane, which has been so experienced. So the lead still goes to KSV. Roughly a level still, a little bit more than that. We are seeing the continuation of the Toxic Nest build on Abathur. So as mentioned before, they are in a spot where they can really just plaster the map and see rotations coming. Great move here also, taking down the fountain, identifying that. We've seen that from Chinese teams. You spoke about that on this very map where we had an early snipe against the mid fountain, which was really sweet. But this one was actually also pretty cool. Identifying it, really taking it down, saying, okay, for the rest of the game, they don't have that retreat path up at the top anymore.
Yeah, you know that started when, actually, let's hold on that because we're about to have a fight. Vol is taken down in the blink of an eye. Drag coming in from the Rich. The Rich takes out Viterial. with a second quick kill for KSV, using the mercenary camp to push on in and be able to do the damage behind them while they posture up, either get kills or at least push back Ballistics. But yeah, the Melody C special started because the Chinese teams were so aggressive at the beginning of Battlefield of Eternity, doing things like top push or pushing out in the mid and just brawling, as we like to see from the Chinese region. And so he started just sneaking around and taking out that mid well, and it does cause issues to lose that at the beginning of the game.
It definitely does. Once that the Immortals are being fought over, we see so many teams just reset the fights after cooldowns have been exchanged by moving back, tapping the well, and then re-engaging into the battle. But at this point, the battle has been very one-sided. KSV, as we said before, they understand the early game weakness of Ballistics' draft, and they exploit it ruthlessly. They jump Valla every opportunity they get. There's no sound barrier available yet. There's no sanctification for Teriel that could help SC out here. So they just do this perfectly. They transition with the Haka to the top. They just move into a quick 5 versus 4, 5 versus 3 whenever there's an opportunity. And Ballistics has trouble dealing with it, and they are starting to fall farther and farther behind. Now, they can still fight with even talents for now, but level 10, that's what I'm concerned about, because that's going to be, should be, a pretty big time window for KSV to exploit.
Nice thing for Ballistics is it was the safe positioning in the first half of Immortals, so they do work down some of the shielding before KSV gets the advantage. Now they're just out in the lanes. They're doing everything they can to try to catch up in experience, and KSV, not sensing anybody from Ballistics here, will just get this quick Immortal, which does start setting them up. It is about 2/3 shielding, as it will be going down into the bottom lane.
This is
it's rough. It's pretty scary. It's scary.
We will see the Haka trying to get the experience up at the top. He's already starting to threaten Zhongha a bit. The problem is that we will see level 10 hit during this push, and that's the one thing that really scares me. Because KSV has already shown that they're absolutely willing to dive behind a keep, or a fort in this case, and once they have level 10, that is just going to become worse and worse for Ballistics. So this could very well be a keep already.
I'm surprised Ballistics didn't try to just defend even a little bit longer and try to get closer themselves, but I guess knowing that KSV were going to get 10, they were already that close, and losing kills, they just would have lost that anyway, and then they would have lost more kills. I
think they were really afraid of the Haka burrowing in and Rich getting another drag. If that happens, it's lights out already. They can't lose anything here. They need to somehow try and hold the core, because that keep should actually fall with a level 10. Look at how aggressive KSV is. They're just moving up already, and just simply by using the Dragon Knight here, they are able to push them back and make sure that the keep is gonna fall. There's no kills now, but SC is low. He still escapes though. But it is a 3-level lead, and the keep is down, and we could still see core.
Oh man, there are no heroic abilities, nowhere even in sight for Ballistics, so they have to do this the old-fashioned way. Ballistics may go down, giving the resets. There's the first kill for KSV as they bring down Teriel. The core starting to fall as Rich goes in, blowing up Lucio, pulling him in with the drag, and now Zhongha under fire. KSV take out 3. Can they stay here on the core?
No.
They're pretty low.
I don't think they can. The death timers are too low. Well, they might barely.
Wow.
It comes down to SC. Can he defend here for a little bit longer, because the rest of the team is coming in? But once he falls, it's definitely G. One is down. Genji is dead. We're seeing the second one die. They might just have enough, but Abathur is still defending the core as well. It's only Tist. 4 are down, and Muradin falls too. They go for the complete obliteration of KSV with 11% left. And Gilly, the worst thing is they don't have Mule.
There's no Mule in this game for Abathur, picking the Vile Nest talents. Oh, man.
At this point, SDE hates his life. This is okay, to be fair, if they had Mule, I am pretty sure KSV would probably not have committed to this and would have just said, you know what, guys, let's play this 100% safe. Because, yes, they defended. They got a massive amount of experience back. Keep in mind, we had a 3-level lead for KSV, and it's now down to a 1-level lead. The problem is, at any point, can that core be backdoored?
And that is why we're seeing such a focus from Ballistics in this bottom lane now. Pushing that out, getting the mercenary camp, doing some damage here, making sure that they're keeping an eye on it, but things get rough for them. The Immortal phase, KSV has already shown how much damage that they can do to them, how quickly they can bring it down, having that Li Ming. Ballistics has good damage for that too, But as you said, always has to be keeping an eye out for the backdoor. They're
Yeah.
still behind a talent here.
They have to play with the vision, and that's where the nest, the toxic nest at least help. But they are down the talent here, as you mentioned. They still have their tools now, so they have taunt. They have at this point also sound barrier and sanctification. So there is definitely a few arguments to be made why they could turn this around, and they're already going aggressively against the Haka. Here comes the strafe being used by SC, a huge amount of damage being pushed out already. Sanctification being used as they start to move in. Tiz gets the Ancestral and survives for now, but Rich connects with a drag against Zhongha's Varian.
Zhongha still has some shield wall left to deal with the damage and get back to the team. This is just a clone of SDE, cloning the Valla to push back KSV all the way back. Halfway point achieved by Ballistics. They have to go back and start worrying. They're going to tap here, maybe worrying about the catapults there as Valla. We see her go and try to take care of that.
Yeah, not only the catapults, you have to worry about vision. When the lane is pushed in against you, it's easier for KSV to move up upon the core and take it down. So the halftime show was won. Ballistics is showing the pressure that they need. Abathar is doing his best to push the bot lane out, but they are engaging into that fight up here to the mid lane once again. So this is really where Ballistics needs to make sure that they get... They can't afford to lose another Immortal. Another Immortal would be a game if KSV doesn't lose heroes in the process of grabbing it. 13 would still be fantastic for Ballistics, so they're currently hoping that they can prolong this a little bit until they hit the next talent before they engage into another 5 versus 5.
Yeah, they're looking for the defense here. KSV still throwing in the damage. The fight starting now as all of Ballistics collapsing on Tist. Doesn't have Avatar yet. Dragon Blade starting to go down, chunks through some of Ballistics.
Yeah, and there's also the isolation. Reset is nearly dying, and he dies first. He dies, but he also takes out Valla, and that is huge. Valla is gone. Li Ming got the reset, couldn't get another one of it, but they are getting another kill as Tyrael dies, and this is a big 2 heroes down, and KSV moves in immediately to claim another Immortal that will move through the top lane.
They're fairly low on resources. Sake on mana, Kyocha on mana too, some of them on health, so they didn't... And with the lower respawn timers, you just want to get this Immortal. The Immortal's going to push against the keep in the top lane. Ballistics at least pushing back the bottom as much as they can to make sure that they're vision and watching both of the lanes. KSV have a couple of different ways that they could try to set this up, but with Ballistics, all of them being back, they still have Sanctification.
I mean, right now you just posture bot lane.
Yes.
It's the only thing you have to do because Ballistics cannot afford to not defend bot lane. As soon as KSV gets close to the core, the game's over. So at this point, they just have Valla at the top. That alone might be enough for KSV to make the move for core and make the call here. But that top keep should fall through the Immortal alone. Here comes the move up, and they're just committing to it.
Yeah.
They allowed them way too much leeway here.
Yeah, they got way too close to the core. KSV now getting on it, using the taunt to push back a reset, but the shielding is still falling. This will be it. KSV takes out Ballistics on Battlefield of Eternity to pull a draw in the series.
Now, that was a rough situation to be in for Ballistics, but it was really interesting to see that they did not set up the defense at the bot lane sooner, because they must have realized that this is going to be the threat. I mean, you're in a losing game already once that you actually lose the Immortal, because you know that the Immortal should at least lead to the second keep falling as well, and you already have a core that sits at 11%.
Yeah.
But the threat was coming through the bot lane. That was obvious. So they waited too long to actually move back down. They didn't have the vision, but at this point, you just have to anticipate it.
Right. It kind of feels more like it's a composition issue for them, that they even got to that 11% core because they would like to have Valla to take down the Immortal, bring it down as fast as they can, but they only really have Valla to do that. And so they even used a clone on Valla to do the damage there and then tried to bring down one of the 2 Vallas, but seeing her there, KSV knew there was enough time to just push straight through and start putting damage on the core.
It was a really cool game though, and I feel like it looked a lot more one-sided than it actually was, because I think once you hit level 4 for Varian, then when you hit level 10 for Taunt, we could see that one fight after they hit 10. They were talent down and they won the first battle. So you could see the potential of the composition. It's just that they were so far behind at that moment already.
Right.
And that comes back to 2 things. First of all, it was incredibly well played by KSV, who understood that from the get-go and said, like, we just exploit the weak early game, we snowball that as hard as we can, and we're trying to go for the early core here. At the same time, I would have loved if Ballistics would have realized the threat and just played it a little bit safer in the early stages and just said, okay, we can lose the first Immortal. If we have to give it up, we can. Because the problem really started to occur when they did not only lose the Immortal, but they also lost several heroes on the process. And then KSV just played it too smart and knew exactly when to be aggressive and how aggressive they could be with this.
Yeah, and mind, I was meaning more like a compositional issue for that particular
no.
situation
yeah,
for them.
that's completely
yeah.
completely separate from what you talked
Right.
about. You were absolutely on point with that.
Yeah, but KSV Reset gets the MVP here, and like you said, exploitation of the Varian choice. It almost felt like, you know, it was Ballistics who went for the Warrior choke and then ended up going for the Varian in the later game too. I don't know if that was something that they had planned from the start or if it was more of an adaptation. There has been a lot of adaptation in draft for Ballistics, things like having 3 Warriors against a double reset composition, even getting the Zeratol that we've seen from SC, so hard to tell what they were wanting there. What do you think?
I feel they're getting really good with adapting to these situations. For me personally, it's the perfect result as well, which I wanted to quickly throw out there.
Oh yeah?
We had Fnatic versus Dignitas ending up with a draw. We have the 2 Korean teams ending with a draw. Of course, when we look at the standings, there's certain advantages that team have because of other results. But it makes me pretty happy that at this point we still can throw the question out there, who is the best team in the region? And we're going to find out over the course of the tournament. That's enough for us, at least for the next game, because we are going to jump into our next series. So guys, stay tuned and we'll be back later on when we have a CE playing Dignitas.